love to run races, and I've done quite a number over the years. So I wanted to do a video describing some of the races and the highlights that belong to all of my race medals. First off, I should describe my medal rack. This was a gift for Christmas for my husband, and I've thought that they're pretty cool for a really long time, and I wanted one that was made of wood and had the word endurance, which has a lot of personal meaning for me. So he actually ordered this as a gift from Ireland, and I think it's really special. And it has 3 rows of racks, and they go from one end to the other, so completely filling the wooden space, which I really appreciate. So it fits a lot of medals. I do intend to get a second medal rack soon and then replace some of these so that they're not so bunched up down here at the bottom. Okay, first things first, the Iron Horse Half was in Midway, Kentucky. Obviously it was in 2017. It's a nice race, really liked the medal a lot. I think I remember it was kind of, it had some hills in it, it wasn't too terrible. The Hoover Dam Half, I remember there was a couple races in this area that I really enjoyed that were kind of in the Lake Mead area, and this was kind of a neat one where I'm pretty sure I ran through like some tunnels over by Lake Mead, Boulder City. It was just a really nice stay. What else do we got? Oh, the Smoothie Tuesdays. So this was a race series in Southern California that I did, and it was at this Riley Wilderness Park, and I remember, I think I did a couple of different ones, like 2 or 3 in the series, and they had a lot of really good swag too. It was kind of a nice ribbon here. Oh man, I have so many. The Tunnel Trot, where was this? Katy Trail, this was in Missouri. And I remember Katy Trail was actually one of the places I really enjoyed the most. And just driving through to get to this race was a really beautiful hills and a really nice area of Missouri. What else? Nada Tunnel. So the medal is kind of cool because it has an actual like hole for the tunnel, and it's in Kentucky. Kind of a cool medal here. Pretty simple, but at the same time, it just shows like some of the texture. Eastern Kentucky is a really amazing place to hike and to run. It's got a lot of really great places for exploring. The color run, this is some kind of different color run. I think it's called like Shine is like different or something like that. But very colorful ribbon there. Wow, 2015. That's a long time ago. Did it with a couple of friends. I think it was in Springfield, Missouri. Hello. Good race. What else? Is this Nada Tunnel? Tunnel Trot? Oh, this one. So this was an interesting race called the Fugitive Race, I think is what it was called. And it was in Missouri. I think it was Rolla, Missouri. And it was basically like you start out in some kind of pen or little barn where you are supposed to escape. And then the whole 5K or whatever distance it was, it's like you're escaping as a fugitive from like zombies or like bad guys or something like that. So it was basically an obstacle course. I remember I rolled my ankle and then I had a military ball later that night, but I made it work. The Mustache Dash. Okay, this is obviously 2014. I don't remember why I have 2 medals for it. It might have been like finisher versus like a placement or something like that. I really don't know, and it doesn't say. This one, yeah, it doesn't really give me any indication. Oh, first place age group. I didn't know I got first place in my age group. Okay, cool. That's cool. That's cool. Yep. Okay, I definitely got first place in my age group. All right, speaking of age group wins, this was one of the first ones I remember, Run for Hope. This was back home in Texas. The race was like hosted or run, facilitated by a lady at our church. And I guess I must have gotten second place in my age group. For the 10K too, I realized. It's kind of a nice surprise. I did not realize I'd gotten that. And yeah, it was pretty cool. ACR Music for the Soul. So this was in North Carolina. It was in Asheville. I don't remember what ACR stands for exactly, but it was a simple little race and it was really pretty. It was there was portions of it that were extremely hilly. And yeah, we were taking a family vacation in Asheville, and then I found this 5K, and a bunch of people in my family actually did it. So I think it was raising some kind of funds for a local high school music orchestra or something like that. Okay, this race, simple black ribbon, but this is the Red Rock Canyon Half Marathon. This always reminds me of a soccer ball. This design is also on the shirt, and it's from Calico Racing and Red Rock Canyon Half Marathon. I have such a wonderful memory from this because I wore a GoPro, and some gentleman saw me and was like, hey, what is that? Is that a camera? Is that a GoPro? And then we just ended up, that was towards the beginning of the race, and we ended up having a conversation for the entire half marathon. His name was Stefan, and he was German. At the time, he was 55, and we just talked the entire race, and it was so cool to run a race with a guy who, you know, you would never have necessarily had a connection with otherwise. This is Color of Wellness 5K. This was kind of a more recent one. I did it in Michigan, and it was just really sweet. It was at a simple little park and a nice little 5K. Good memory. This is actually my first Spartan race that I ever did. It was in, where was it? I think it was Ohio. I like the green. It's really nice. But yeah, I'd never done a Spartan race. It's been my goal for a while to do obstacle course racing. This was, I guess, part of some kind of like trifecta or something. So you get like a special tab, I guess this like 1/3 piece, where if you get the other 2 pieces of it, then it completes the circle. And then of course, this is the actual normal finisher medal. So yeah, I really like to get into them. I think they're really cool. They were fun. And I just so happened to sign up for the Beast Distance that particular time. So that was a nice memory. I really enjoyed that race. This little guy, he's really simple, a bit of an underrated little race. This one was called the Frog Hill Half, and it was in, I think it was like St. Robert or Waynesville, Missouri, when I was there for the Army. And yeah, it was a very hilly course. And I think it was like 1 week after I ran this one. So it was like a 1 week after I'd rolled my ankle, and I ended up babying my ankle, and I was totally fine for the race. That was a good one. It was cold. I remember it was cold. Run for Freedom and Honor. So I don't quite remember this one. I remember doing one this year, and I guess it was an 11K. It was related to Veterans Day, and it was in a nice park down in Southern California. Yeah, it was a pretty good race. I remember it was definitely a lot of like running on cement and pavement and stuff like that. But yeah, it was good. Okay, this one is a coaster. You can see that it's a coaster, and I just love it. I think it's very clever because it was the Valley of Fire 10K. I'm pretty sure it was a 10K trail. And this is in one of my favorite areas. This and the Red Rock Canyon in Las Vegas are some of my favorite places in the entire world so far. And they're just really beautiful. And I think it's really fitting that this is kind of this sort of rocky sandstone colored, and then especially kind of orange, because Valley of Fire has a ton of like orange rocks in it. All right, wow, this one's pretty big, but this was the Temecula half marathon that I did with the, it's a race series of like wine country. I forget exactly if that's what it's called, but yeah, the actual thing has this wine cork stuff and the stopper, and yeah, it's kind of neat. I guess this is a place where you can put your name. That one, I split with my husband. We did the half marathon as a relay, and I didn't know which half to take. And so I said, I'll take the first half, you take the second half. And the second half ended up being very hilly, so I felt really bad that he had to do the hillier half. Run Through the Woods. This is probably one of the first first races I ever ran. And I've ran it more prior to the 2013, but this one, I guess I must have kept the medal. And yeah, it's a hometown place, Run Through the Woods. I think they do it every Thanksgiving in the Woodlands, Texas. So this one is a very fond memory. This is the 2014 Hot Chocolate 15K. I still have like the jacket they gave me. Beautiful medal, really ornate. This was in St. Louis. Really nice memory with a couple of friends, and really beautiful like expo and finish line. I remember it was kind of cold, but really nice memory. This is another trail series from California, the Renegade. This was a series, I think like 2 or 3 races that I ran of them at another park, and I just really enjoyed running through kind of the dusty hills with the brush and the scrub there, and it was really nice. And I really like this medal. It's kind of like a necklace, really kind of rugged, and then it's very lightweight too. So I appreciate that. This was my very first half marathon in December of 2013, the Bryan College Station half marathon. And, you know, near and dear to my heart because I went to Texas A&M. Love the color. It was an amazing finish line expo, some of the best food. And it just so happened to be like Texas was rainy and in the 20s that day. So it was a really cold race. and that was really shocking and kind of unpleasant. Not a big deal though, because it made a good memory. So this one looks like it's a dog tag because it's a military style event. This was called Bataan Death March. I've done it twice. I think it was 2014-15 or 15 and 16. And this is White Sands Missile Range, and it's in New Mexico. So they made this kind of very simple dog tag like medal, and it's got a lot of like Army sponsors and a lot of military folks like to do it, and it's a very special race. So this is the Nashville, it was the rock and roll half marathon. I think they call it the country music half marathon because it's in Nashville. And yeah, that was another really robust race. The rock and roll half does a lot of really great series, and I'd love to do one in Vegas. But yeah, it was a great expo, and it was a really nice race. They had a lot of musicians playing along the sides wherever you were running, and that was really nice to have that kind of motivation here and there. The EQT 10 miler, I ran this one in 2018 in Pittsburgh. Every mile has a theme that's kind of like a Pittsburgh related theme. It was kind of a cool race. I remember I hadn't been doing a ton of running, and so it was kind of neat to get back into running a little bit by doing this race. As you can see, they are all over the place as far as like when I've done them. So this was the City of Laguna Hills. I guess this was a Memorial Day race I ran. I think it was a 10K. Don't have too many memories of it. I know it was kind of close to where I was living at the time, so it wasn't a super far drive or anything for me. Holland Bass was one of the first races I was running when I was trying to like kind of get out into my community and do things. So I remember Stockton State Park was really beautiful, and I ran this race. It was, yeah, November, so it was kind of a cold time, and it was just really neat to like run through the hills and be able to see through the trees because there wasn't a ton of leaves, so you could just see how much hilly terrain there was in Missouri. It was really nice. So this one I did pretty recently, terrain race. I was not actually very impressed with the race itself and the organization and everything, but it was kind of fun to do the obstacles, and it was kind of a neat experience. So very simple, lightweight finisher medal. Not a huge deal. What else? I know there's something behind here. Missouri, Holland Bass might be coming to close. This is one of my favorite medals. It is the Great Smoky Mountains half from Vacation Races, and I really love this race series. I think they're so cool. I would love to do another one. I've been planning to get out to like West Coast somewhere. Really amazing, beautiful medal. The only downside is it's kind of coming away from itself, like it's breaking a little bit, but it was really nice memories. This area of Tennessee is absolutely gorgeous. It's really beautiful. And they gave you some really nice like swag, and they had a lot of great stuff for purchase too. The shirt was like okay, but the medal is just really beautiful and it's amazing, and I'm so glad I ran that race. And then I think the last medal on here, hopefully I haven't missed anything. This one is from a really long time ago. I actually studied abroad in Moscow, Russia, and I did a 10K while I was there. And it's pretty ironic that all these medals from America are like super massive and like as big as my hand. And then this tiny, adorable one, I love it. It's just a good memory from running in Russia, and yeah, it's really wonderful. So those are all the medals that I have to date, and I do hope to get more medals and a new rack and just kind of, okay, that one's just done. And be able to expand, and a lot of good memories, a lot of good stuff. And yeah, I love running. So if you're ever interested in getting out and running, sometimes the bling can be a really good motivator.